The Boon cycle is an iconic part of the very first set of Magic, Alpha. Arguably the best remembered cycle of cards, each color has access to an instant spell. But there is a little problem. This card is part of the Power 9, some of the strongest old school Magic cards ever printed, and this card is too weak for core sets. The power level of the spells is inconsistent to say the least. Not to mention how black has a temporary mana ramp spell, which is totally a red card. The disparate power level and thematic disregard begs the question, what would revised versions of the Boons look like? Today I am going to throw my hat into the designer ring and propose a new Boon cycle. I am going to set a few ground rules first though. 1. These are the Boons. They should be powerful. I am going to try to pack about 3 mana worth of power into a 1 mana instant. I'm not trying to make balanced cards for a standard set, but to pay homage to the legacy of the power and impact of the originals. 3 mana worth of efficiency seems fitting, as the Boon cycle is rather fixated on the number 3. It goes without saying that the number 3 will be featured in each card. 2. I want the Boons to feel like they fit into their respective color wedge. I'm looking at Dark Ritual. The 5 colors are diverse mechanically, and when possible, I would like to preserve the flavor of the original cards. 3. I'm going to try to abstain from making other cards irrelevant. A lot of similar cards have been printed, about 20,000 total cards at the time of recording, so I am likely going to miss something. I will be displaying cards I used for inspiration or for balance reference, but take it with a grain of salt. With all that out of the way, let's retune the Boons. White. Healing Salv is the weakest of the Boons, and it is actually a little confusing if you look at its wording. Healing Salv is a modal spell. Healing is definitely a white mechanic, so the main point of contention is balance, not flavor. Healing Grace is already a power creep version of Healing Salv. In theory, the card could be buffed to 6 life, keep the modality, but that abandons the number 3. Instead, I am going to go in a different direction altogether, choosing to embrace White's propensity for white weenies. On instant speed, a white soldier token is worth about 1 mana, with examples being Raise the Alarm and Secure the Waste. Put 3 1/1 white soldier tokens onto the battlefield seems pretty average, so why not give them Vigilance as a sign of White's combat superiority, and as a callback to Sarah Angel from the original Alpha set. Blue. Ancestral Recall is often regarded as the most powerful blue card ever printed. Being able to draw 3 cards at instant speed is valued at 5 mana considering Jace's ingenuity. But Ancestral Recall has greater utility since it can be used to mill the opponent on occasion. The most obvious fix is to change the draw effect to Scry 3, as seen in the Reason side of Reason to Believe, but that card is valued at 1 mana. I think Ancestral Recall deserves an additional effect. Blue is well known for the ability to manipulate tap status with cards like Twiddle. There is a theme of instant rebate in blue as well, with cards like Unwind and Snap, and I think untapping up to 3 target lands would be a very strong addition to the card. Black. Dark Ritual is a red card. Temporary mana acceleration is a familiar facet of the red cards, and Desperate Ritual seems to be an homage to Dark Ritual, only color shifted. Retraining Dark Ritual would likely involve choosing a different black mechanic, namely kill spells. A 1 mana unconditional kill spell would put Murder to shame. Killing a creature with CMC 3 or less feels a bit close to Smother and Fatal Push. A small penalty being losing 3 life would weaken the card slightly. In all honesty, this was the hardest card to design for me. An earlier idea was to send 3 creature cards from the deck to the graveyard, but that seemed incredibly dangerous, with no obvious power level ceiling. If there are more suggestions, then I am all ears. Red. Lightning Bolt is probably the best burn spell ever printed at 1 mana. But at 3 mana, dealing 3 damage, the card is slightly underpowered. In addition to the problem-solving text of targeting player, creature, or planeswalker, Lightning Bolt should probably have an effect similar to Carbonize, exiling a creature or planeswalker killed by the effect. A slight increase in power is probably enough to balance Lightning Bolt for 3 mana worth of efficiency. Green. Giant Growth is a power level appropriate for Standard, and directly counters Lightning Bolt's ability to remove an X3 creature. Changing the effect to instead add 3 +1/+1 counters would definitely increase the power of the card, but that is a little dull. One of the most interesting aspects of Giant Growth is that it can be used defensively to prevent destruction of a creature, but also offensively to push damage or kill a blocker. I suggest adding a defensive effect like Hexproof, think Blossoming Defense, and also an aggressive effect like Trample, think Awaken the Bear. This is a significant increase in power, but hopefully preserves the utility of the original. So that is my opinion on minor tweaks to the Boon cycle. If you have a suggestion, feel free to add to the conversation. TCGTheory signing off.